course, to understand, to build a sukkah, you have to understand the measurements. Most of the measurements involved in building a sukkah are in tefachim. A tefach. Tefach we think of as a handbreadth. Different to a handbreadth. So I've gone to people's houses and they ask me questions and I tell them they need to have 10 tefachim here and they start going like this. You can't do that. Can't do that. The same way a foot, we don't go and measure with our own feet. A tefach is a set measurement. Okay? And maybe the truth is, it's not even really a handbreadth. A tefach is measured in etzba'os, in fingers, and that measurement is by the width of the thumb. So automatically,
more time.
More people coming? Slow down.
More time.
Okay.
Say one more time.
Say it over again.
אמרת עוד פעם?
Just start again?
Tefach, what is
Okay. So we're talking about. We're talking about the measurements of a sukkah, and most of the measurements are in a tefach. A tefach is not a handbreadth, even though it's known as a handbreadth. It's made of 4 etzba'os, in that there are 4 fingers to make a handbreadth. But the etzba we're talking about is a thumb measure. You can take a look in Hilchos Mikvos. It mentions the beginning over there for building a mikvah. And the truth is, all the measurements going from tefachim to amos to the size of a revius, for when we drink, all come from that measurement. It's a mikvah is made up of 40 sa, which we know is 1 amma by 3 ammas, or 1 amma squared by 3 ammas high, cube, and from there we can measure out a revius. All the measurements come from that same thing. They all come from that, from the thickness of the thumb. Now, at the end of the day, we're not using our own thumbs either. It's a real set measurement. It was set many, many years ago. In the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, he made a metal measurement that they used. Similarly, now that they have a meter, I think in France they keep the official meter. It's made out of platinum in an enclosed case filled with nitrogen, temperature controlled. They're very, very careful with the measurements.
In Europe now they're taking Muslims, little one.
Yeah. The truth is, for measurements nowadays, they don't even use the metal anymore. Now everything is measured by, I think it's 900 nanometers wavelength of light. It's a certain shade of orange. Because that's a number that you know will not change. At least assuming the laws of physics don't change. It's something that's definitely measurable. Unfortunately, they didn't have anything like that back in the days of Chazal, so we're not exactly sure how big a tefach is. So there was a machlokas between the Chazon Ish and Reb Chaim Noah, and I think the Chazon Ish says 28.8 centimeters is a amma, and the Reb Chaim Noah says 24 centimeters. 24 centimeters? That doesn't make sense. No, it's a tefach. It's one tefach, I think. Whatever it is.
Tefach, it's a Moroccan name.
Yeah. So I got from the Living Torah Museum, said 22.75 inches for an amma. So I measured this out very carefully. There's 6 tefachim to the amma. I measured this out, and we're going to use this, even though I'm not necessarily sure it's the correct number. The reason why it's important to know that there's a discrepancy is because we have to be strict in both directions. If you have a minimum size, you have to use a larger measurement. If you have a maximum size, you want to use a smaller measurement, or whatever it is. Okay. Now, the size of a sukkah needs to be, minimum height of a sukkah needs to be 10 tefachim high. So over here we have 10 tefachim. Right? This would be high enough for it to be a sukkah, assuming that it's high. It's kind of borderline. I wouldn't really use it. Okay, how tall is that? That's tall enough that a man can sit inside, I guess on a cushion, and you can have you can pull in a little table that's tefach wide, and you can sit in each. It's tall enough for that. What's the measurement of the width? Measurement of the width is 7 tefachim. The internal size has to be 7 tefachim. 7 by 7. So that footprint of a 7 by 7 tefach floor is what you need to have a sukkah. If you want to make a triangular sukkah, you can do so. But you have to be able to put a square, the 7 tefachim by 7 tefachim on the floor. 7 tefachim, 7 tefach square. 7 tefach square. That's the smallest you're going to
get.
So
7 tefach by 7 tefach by 10 tefach is a sukkah?
That's the minimum size to be a sukkah.
For one person?
For one person. Well, you could really try to fit 2 in, but not so practical. It's a size for one man. It's a size for one man. Now, if you want to make a circle, same idea. You have to be able to fit that square inside of it. Where is this practical? Sometimes, if you build up against a house and you have something jutting out, like over there, like you have a thing jutting into the sukkah, and then there's a little space next to it, and you try to sit into the corner. If you can't fit that square of 7 by 7 into it, so that's not a good place to sit. If you try to fit, if you can't fit that square 7 by 7 at any place, that you don't want to be sitting over there. It's not a kosher part of the sukkah. Okay, so how many walls do we need to have to make a sukkah? So the Torah says sukkah. It says the Gemara learns out that there's 3 walls. 3 walls, but one of them you don't even need a complete wall. Halacha Moshe Messina, you can get away with less than that. You can use a tefach. Now, when I was a kid, I always thought that the extra tefach you could just leave over here, or maybe you lay it on the ground. So I didn't know. The answer is not really. Well, if you want to make a sukkah with 3 walls, one of them being a tefach, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to place it about over here. What do we have? We have over here a piece that is a little bit more than a tefach, slightly more than 1 tefach, and there's a concept known as levud. What is levud? Levud means that if I have a space that is slightly less than 3 tvachim, not equal to 3, but less than 3 tvachim, I can treat that space as if it's connected. We use this all over the place. We use it in Erevin, we use it in by building a sukkah, and it comes up in a number of other places. If it's less than 3 tvachim, I consider it connected. So if I place my 1 tefach piece, let's go over here, a little bit less than 3 tvachim, I end up with effectively what's considered a solid wall for 4 tvachim. 4 tvachim is majority of 7. I have the majority of a wall now, and according to the Torah law, that's it.
What are you considering as a wall? Can you do it with a cloth?
We'll get to that. We'll get to all the different things you can use for a wall. It's a large variety of things you're allowed to use. Okay? So I can make the majority of the wall like this, and that's good. The Chachamim said, we don't want to do this, because at the end of the day, let's say it's much longer like this. So you're going to have a little piece over here. It still doesn't necessarily really feel right. You have 2 walls, and then you have just a little piece sticking out. So they said what you should do for the rest of it is make a tzuras of Pesach, a doorway opening, stick a kana in the ground, put a piece on top. Gotta watch out for that. I gotta stand it. Right? If you make a doorway opening like this, so then we can consider that the 3rd wall. So technically, this would work. Okay. Now, if you want to build a sukkah the simple way, you just make 3 solid walls. You want to start playing games, you can do this. There are many other different arrangements we could make. And you can play a lot of games. If you look in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, he says, I'm not even dealing with it. It's halacha say for Balavatim. He says, I don't want to deal with it. It's too complicated. Ask your Rav. Best to do is to have 3 solid walls. But what's interesting is that we can play games like this, how little we can get away with to make walls. We'll discuss some more of them. And when we get to Hilchos Erevin, also we play a lot of games to make walls. Anybody can build an Eruv if you want to build brick walls the whole way around. You want to just make around the city a solid brick wall, block off all the streets. Right? It'd be fine. It'd be very simple. It wouldn't be much of an issue. You wouldn't need to bring a Rav down. There'd be no question. It's good. I mean, we probably have to bring a Rav down anyway. But right. But what happens is that the city doesn't let us build solid brick walls all the way around the city. So we have to start playing games. Now, within the rules of halacha, we can. But there are limit. Now, the rules for Erevin happen to be different than the rules for Sukkah. There's a very interesting overlap. What happens on Shabbos of Sukkot? What happens on Sukkot? What happens on Shabbos of Sukkot? I have this. Take a look over here. In this case, I have 2 walls forming a street, a movli. It's a side street. You go to the old city in Yerushalayim, you take a look, all the streets are like this. They're basically walled streets. Now, if you have a walled street like this, you want to make an Eruv over here, you can't just, it's not considered closed. If you put a lechi, a little board over here, it's considered closed. This is considered a wall to close it off. To make this into a sukkah, use this as a sukkah, you can't do. The rules of sukkah say you'd have to place it far away, like this. For an Eruv, this is good enough. So what happens on Shabbos, on Sukkot? for an Erev, I consider this a closed off area. But you're not going to tell me it's closed off area for a sukkah? The answer is we say it is. So what happens is on Shabbat, on Sukkot, what is not good to be a sukkah normally, if it's good enough to be an Erev, it's good enough to be a sukkah. Other way around, vice versa. This would not necessarily be a good, well, this case actually might be. But there are certain cases that we can make for, we can make a fine sukkah, and it would not be a good Erev. But on Shabbat of Sukkot, since it's a good sukkah, it's considered closed up area. We consider a good Erev also for the purposes of Shabbat. Yeah. So over here in this case, we throw skach on top of it, right? It's a fine Erev. It's a fine sukkah, even though normally it wouldn't be. You could use it one day during the week. Okay. Now, there are some other applications we can have of lavud. For example, let's just take this piece over here. Now, if I were to make the skach very high, if you go to Miami, a lot of people, what they do is they take mats, they place it around, they buy mats from people with metal holding it together. It's not good to be skach, but they use it to make the walls, and then they have like a frame, they'll have a nice open and get a nice breeze, and then they'll have the skach high up. So you can have the skach high up like this. That's fine. You can build the skach much higher up until the height of the sukkah, which is 20 amot. We'll get to that after.
Yeah, I see.
Right? Yes. Okay, but the problem is, what happens if I raise the wall up? So if I pick up the wall and I have a space underneath it, so then that could be a problem, because it's not much of a wall if it's not going to the ground blocking people. Yeah? Having a wall sticking up in the air where you just walk underneath it is not a wall. I need a good wall, I need a good mechitza. So we say that if it's above if it's 3 tvachim or above the ground, so I have a problem. It's not going to be a good wall. If it's within 3 tvachim, so then again I can say lavud, I can treat it as if it's connected down to the ground, that's perfectly fine. So your average porch, the fence, you have a fence built around your porch, is not going to have that much space underneath it. I think by American law they have to have less space, so that's generally not going to be an issue if you're trying to use your porch. I don't really know of any other situation where you're going to run into that problem. But again, because we can consider it connected, if I have less than 3 tvachim, let's say I want to use a shorter board. I don't have boards quite this tall. I could put a little piece going across the top over here, and leave a space less than 3 tvachim, and then it'll be connected.
I mean,
So,
the same
I
idea right
understand,
here, right?
but you consider the third wall.
yeah, let's go back.
When
Like over here.
when you put here the frame for the entrance,
Yeah.
you said it can be considered as a wall.
Yes. No, I'm talking about a different case.
No, I know, but
Okay.
you're saying that this would be considered as the third wall.
Yes.
But you can go around. There is enough
It's
space
true.
to go.
It's true, you're
So
right.
how it's blocking the way? If it's
It
not
doesn't
blocking
have to block the
it's
way.
not the way.
It's just the idea.
The point is, I don't have to block the way. I just need luckily a space that's small enough we can treat like it's connected. You're right. You can slip in. It's true. You can slip in. It's considered connected.
It's exactly like a wall split
You're right.
under the.
Absolutely right. That's what I'm saying. We're playing games.
Okay.
You're right. Fine. If you take a look over here, this is a picture of my sukkah half done. It's looking much more done than that. Over here, I use canvas, but I have a very loose canvas. I can't pull it tight the way the grommets are on it, and I'm not so happy with it. So what I do is I put bars in all the way around. The space between each bar, or each 2 bars, is less than 3 tvachim. Therefore, they consider connected, and I get my walls that way. Yeah, you can go like that. So it effectively creates a wall. The space underneath, not a problem. Again, it's less than 3 tvachim to the ground.
All the rest can be open. And just,
אבל למה צריך
Well, we open this fine. Yeah, then on top, it's open, so who cares? Okay. Fine.
העיקר שיהיה ככה.
Now,
אז אם לא היה קיר זה מספיק בתור קיר.
If there was no wall, it says consider like it's a wall.
yeah, this would be enough for a wall. Technically be enough. I put up the canvas anyways, because I don't want everybody looking in, but technically this is good enough. Okay. Now, let's go back a couple of pictures. Here we have some pergolas. Over here you can see we have a house with a deck, and fencing, and then we have a lattice basically for putting schacham. So this is a great setup. Assuming that the wall over here is 10 tefachim high, and since they built this to be a sukkah, so they made sure it was, what do they have to do over here? They throw schacham top.
That's it.
That's
Well, you can cover the wall too, I mean, with sheet or something.
They could, if they want it, but you don't have to.
I don't have to.
You don't have to. That's the point. What's the minimum to make a sukkah? Right? I don't need, if I want to put the sheet on for it's like, you make it decorated.
So
You don't have to though.
this can be sukkah as is now?
Yes, all you have to do is
Just
throw
put
the
the
schacham, you're good. That's it.
Wow.
It's great.
You don't have to cover the walls?
No, that's
No,
why I
the
say
point
you
is
don't have to
connected.
cover the wall.
The space in between them is nothing, right? And it's 10 tefachim high. It's at least, the railing was at least this high.
But it just
That's
looks
what's
weird when
important.
you have people coming and eating, you're right there and it's open.
Okay, so listen, if you want to block it up, you're free to do so. You don't have to block it up.
I mean, if it's 4th of July, okay, people sit there.
Yeah, okay. So you
For
know, you want to
some
block
you
it
might
up.
want to cover it.
Okay, but what makes a kosher sukkah? You don't have it, it's still kosher sukkah.
Okay.
Okay, now, let's talk a minute about schach. What is a schach? First, let's go get the third one. Just a second. I need 3 balls for this one. What is schach? Schach is basically 3 things. It needs to be something that grew from the ground. It needs to be something that's been cut off from the ground. And it's not makabel tumah. It cannot become tummy. Now,
Artificial?
artificial, there's nothing artificial you can use for schach.
I mean,
It
they use
didn't grow from the ground.
they use the bamboo now, I mean, that's why they...
Bamboo grows from the ground.
לכן שמתם לב שבסכך זה חצוי תמיד
you wanna know
לשתיים,
the
כדי
maps?
שלא יקבל טומאה, לכן זה חצוי.
מה חצוי?
הסכך, תמיד הוא שבור, כדי שלא יהיה כלי שמקבל טומאה.
You can see the star.
Oh, I get this.
אתה יכול להשתמש גם כן בבמבוס.
לא, לא. בבמבוק?
Just have to stop for 2 seconds to put this together.
הבעיה שהוא נהפך למחצלת, הוא מקבל טומאה. שהוא מחובר אחד לשני. החיבור, אם זה חיברת אותם ביחד ונעשה שטיח, זה יכול לקבל טומאה.
מה הכוונה מקבל טומאה?
שזה פסול לסיכוך.
לא, אבל מה הכוונה?
התוצאה שזה פסול לסיכוך.
Now, what about food? Can I use corn? If I have corn stalks with the corn on it, does the corn
לא, כל
count?
הנושא זה רק בסכך. למעלה.
So we can't use food.
נו, תשאל את הרב.
Cannot use food. It has to be pasolas.
יואב קרויצ'ין, כן, תשאל.
What's the question?
לא, מה השאלה? אני פשוט לא ידעתי על מה הוא מדבר. אז
No, you can close it, I mean, he's got a zipper. If you can close the door, I mean, it's okay, right? The front of the door, he's got a zipper.
לא מבין מה הכוונה מקבל טומאה.
He was wondering if it's okay to use the...
זיפר?
הוא רוצה
What's
לשאול.
wrong with the zipper?
רק לא במכנסיים, רק במכנסיים.
It's okay, he said, Rabbi.
So what do you mean by...
לא, כי
No,
פחד.
it's okay, that's sukkah, that you got outside, it's...
What? Oh,
שאלה
so
לנביא.
okay, so then,
לא, שלמה רוצה ללכת לבית אל, הוא אמר זה מספיק כשר. הלו, הלו. קח את הקולה איתך.
אני לא יכול להופיע בסרט.
אתה יכול, אבל רק בצורה מלאה.
מה, אני לא בסדר זה? לא מספיק טוב אני?
לך תעזור שם עם הקרשים.
Nothing going to fall? On the trampoline?
okay. Last time I gave this, I teach 3rd grade. Last time I taught it, the 3rd graders were there and they were doing it all for me. We're learning Mishnayot. Sukkah now. So I had all my workers taking care of all this for me. Okay. Good. I got my 3 balls. Good solid balls.
So what do you mean by...
Okay, so what is makabel tumah? Something, not that it is tameh, but it can become tameh. Any kli, just to keep it simple, any kli,
כלי.
right? It's made into a useful thing. A chair, a wooden ladder. A wooden ladder is a whole question, but we'll keep it simple. Anything that's made into something. My cart, it's made out of wood, right? A table, right? If I have a board, but I turn it into a table, now it can become tameh. I have a plain old board.
What do you mean it can become tameh?
let's say a dead body were to touch it, would it become tummy?
Yes.
And
So-
if a dead body is touching the
A
wood,
dead body were to touch my cart, a cart would be tummy.
and if it's
And if it
just-
touched this board, it would not become tummy. This board was not made into anything, it's just a piece of chocolate. If it was made into something useful, if it's made into a finished item also, a chair, a wooden chair, those chairs over there, the table, the stender, right? If I make a wooden bowl, anything that I make into something useful, the stender, all of these things,
שימושי.
No, no.
שהוא
yes,
כלי.
but I don't understand why it can become tameh.
because that's what it takes to be.
So,
Not
okay,
any, everything can become tummy.
just to take it to extreme, because I don't understand.
Yeah, okay.
So כתוב, משה.
Because a dead body touching the table,
Yeah,
now it's becoming tameh.
absolutely.
But if it's touched this board,
It doesn't do anything.
just a second, and then I'm building from this a table, the table is clean because it's touched the
That's right.
body before you build the table.
Wood doesn't get too much.
Right. Absolutely.
משה, מה אתה לוקח את זה במקווה?
If you have a kli, you have a table and it was tameh, and you smash it, so then it becomes not tameh, because now it's no longer a kli. If you rebuild it, midrabanan becomes tameh. There's a question about scissors that come apart.
חומר גלם הוא לא טמא. אבל
Technically,
ברגע
scissors that come apart,
עשית
when
אותו
you take it
לכלי,
apart,
או
they
עשית
become not
אותו
tameh.
משהו משומש,
But midrabanan, they were goes.
יש בו נגיעה, הוא יכול להפך להיות טמא.
Technically not, because it's not really useful. You're right. It's not technically. It's a very funny case. Because it's not really broken, but it's not really a kli at this point. So it's, technically, it's not. It's not. Okay. So that's what skach needs to be. It has to come. It can't be made. Now a mat. The mats are a very big hack. They're very. I mean, the Mishnah discusses them. Back in the old days, they sat on mats like we have for our skach. They sat on the ground. So if the mat is meant to be sat on, so then it becomes tummy. It can become tummy. If it's not meant for sitting on, I only wove it together to make it a skach, then it's not meant. It won't become tummy. It's a funny case where you actually make something out of it, but it's just a convenient way of putting skach on, so it doesn't become tummy. The Mishnah says it's okay. Logically, we might think it does. It's not the case. If you start sitting on your skach, then you could have a problem. So you don't want to start sitting on your mats. If you put it aside to sit on it, so I don't know. Right? You might have a problem with it. Okay, so that's what we can use. Now, let's use one example. Let's say I take a skach, bamboo, perfectly fine. I put it on, get a few bundles, I put it on, I should be good, yeah? No. Why? Because the sukkah needs to be made, not the shem sukkah, but at least the shem self, for shade. Okay? So what happened was, in the old days, people would come home with bundles of sticks, or straw, or something like that, and they would need a place to put them to dry. So this is a nice place to let it dry. If I make a sukkah, not for a place to sit, the chachila, I want to make it for the mitzvah. But let's say I make it just for a place to sit for shade. So fine, so that's a kosher sukkah. But if I make it by accidentally, just by putting stuff to dry there, so then it wouldn't be a kosher sukkah. So as Xera, they said, if you shouldn't leave bundles on top, right? If you do, even though you put it in the same sukkah, you do it in the same cell, or the same mitzvah, what I should do is I should untie the bundles. If I untie the bundles, then I'm good. Right? I can spread it out. Okay. Like this would be fine.
Even if you're putting it in order to dry the...
Oh, if I put it to dry, no, I'd have to pick it up and put it back down again. If I put it for the wrong reason, yeah, that's a good question. If I picked it up and put it back down, if I put it down for the wrong reason, and it's not a kosher sukkah, anytime I have skach up there, and that skach is puzzle, and I could fix the skach, not like it's a piece of metal, but it's something I could fix, like in this case, I would have to pick it up and put it back. I don't have to take it all the way off, but I'd have to go like this to each piece, and say, and do it for the mitzvah.
So what about the metal sukkahs that you bought from Chabad?
Oh, that's the walls. The walls are metal. That's fine. We'll get to the walls.
Framing.
The framing's fine.
It's fine?
Yeah, the framing's fine. We'll get the walls. We'll get what the wall. That's like comes later. Okay. How much skach do I need? I need to have enough that I have mostly shade. Okay? I need to have enough that I have mostly shade. Now that's based on shade on the bottom. Okay. Now there is one funny case where I can actually end up with mostly sun, and still it's kosher. Tell me, what do you hope you-
It's built on the tree.
What? Oh, we're gonna get the trees. In this case, here, pick up the pieces and put them on this way. If I go like this,
סוכה מדובללת.
what? Let's say it like this. Okay, now this is not normal. No one's going to do this normally, right? But this is technically a fine sukkah. Now the problem is, I forgot to bring the flashlight. You take a flashlight and you shine it through. Right? The sun comes at the right angle. You get mostly light on the bottom. Yeah. It doesn't matter. What matters is what happens when the sun is directly overhead. When the sun is directly overhead, so it looks flat for all intents and purposes, it entirely blocks off all of the sun, and therefore that's considered rope cell. That would be fine. Yeah? So where is this relevant? This is relevant if I have branches and the branches are up and down, and the sun can get through. The only way to really tell is to go above and look down. Or, and let's see, where's that case? If I was to just use this wall as is, right, put schach here and the schach up here, the fact that the sun gets in through the hole doesn't matter. We consider it all connected. Okay? Now, depending on how much schach there, it depends on how far apart you can get it. Certainly if it's within 3 tvachim, so you're all good. But even if it's more than 3 tvachim, but you have a significant amount of schach, then you can have zip. Yeah. Okay. Take this away. Fine. Now, how close to the wall does the schach have to be? If you're building a, say, this following case over here, I had a brick wall. Let's see, over here. Commander Brin's house. He's got a brick wall here, another wall here, another wall here. He's got 3 walls. Beautiful, solid brick walls. But you can never get the walls underneath the schach. It's a 3-story building. Yeah? He ended up building a frame in the middle, and the schach is me on it. So the schach's not over the wall. Is that okay? So the answer is, if the schach is within 3 tvachim from the wall, you're good. Again, we can treat it like it's connected.
Even if the walls are over 20 feet? I mean,
It doesn't matter. It matters with the schach.
But then you're going to have the tzel, the shade is coming
Doesn't matter.
anyway.
Doesn't matter. It says bein shnei harib. It's perfectly okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so that's shnei harib. No? It's fine. Okay, as long as the wall is, as long as it's within 3 tvachim of the wall, it's considered connected. Now, would I sit under there? Not necessarily, because at that point I don't have any schach. But is it kosher? It is considered kosher. It is considered kosher over there, right? I don't look at it as if it's missing a wall.
So how the schach can be
How can it be 3 tvachim away?
You build a
Let's say
frame
you build a
far away.
frame, not all the way up to the wall. Let's say you don't want to touch the wall, he's afraid of touching the wall. The people from the building are makbid, so he keeps it far away. How close can you get it? How far away can you get it, really? You get it within 3 tvachim. As long as you get it within the schach within 3 tvachim, you're good. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, you're building your own frame. You don't use the wall.
Yeah. No, this wall is the wall. If you were building a frame,
How you get
he built a frame. The way he built a frame was he just put up a 2x4 over here, 2x4 over here, put a piece across the top so you can hang up the schach. But there's no wall. He didn't make any walls.
No, the walls were.
He used the brick walls.
Yeah.
But the schach is not going to go over the wall. But what we're saying is it doesn't make a difference. The schach doesn't need to go over the wall. It just needs to be close to the wall.
So between houses, basically, you can do that.
Yeah, it's great. You can use the side of your house. Meaning you don't have to nail the schach into the wall if you're doing it up against your house. Right? As long as it's near the wall, you're good.
Now you give me that idea.
Okay. Don't make any holes here. Okay. Now, let's say I have a place in the middle of my sukkah that has whatchamacallit, a big airspace. Okay, so let's pretend I was putting, let's say it's a sukkah like this, and I was putting my schach. Actually, we can actually do it. Let's put this piece over here. I put some schach over here. I put some schach over here. And then I have a big airspace in the middle. So if the place where the space of air is 3 tvachim wide, then I run into trouble. If it's less than 3 tvachim wide, I consider it like it's connected, all intents and purposes, and it doesn't pass with it. Would I sit under there? Maybe not. It depends. If it's smaller, if it's not 3 by 3 tvachim squares, then I would sit under there. If I have something that's possible for schach, like I have a metal board, a metal sheet or something, or I have a support beam, something like that, so then, then only if it's 4 tvachim wide would it be a problem. Right? Why? What's the difference? 3 is more nicker. 3 is clearer that there's something else there. Right? If it's something that's solid, just not kosher for schach, so then I say that I need 4 tvachim before it's a problem. Now, in this case, if I were to put something that was possible, or I leave an airspace, what I effectively do is I cut my sukkah in half. I have my sukkah over here that's kosher, well, not necessarily kosher, and I have my sukkah over here. In this case, with only 3 walls, I'm going to have a big problem. Because now I don't have 3 walls. I have 1 wall, 2 walls up to here, and then I have, over here, also 2 walls. I could really make my sukkah puzzle. If I turn it the other way, if I have some of it over here, and some over here, the back half of it would be fine. The front half of it would be a problem. Because the front half only has 2 walls. So depending on how you do it. You have to, best is to make sure you don't have any spaces. And you have
The best way is to go to the rabbi's sukkah.
No, just make it real. It's not that big a deal.
So, let me ask a question.
לכן אתם צריכים ללמוד כדי לדעת איך לעשות.
Yeah.
That makes you
עושים וכל אחד תבוא
What about
לשיעור.
any piece
אתה
of
אינספקטור.
metal?
אבל זה כל הרעיון, שבן אדם ידע את הדברים היסודיים האלה.
For example, when you have a screw.
לא פשוט.
No, the screws are not in there. We'll get to that right next. Okay.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Let's say we're sitting for dinner in a sukkah.
Yeah.
We're sitting in the dinner. We finish the kiddush, we finish everything, we start to eat the meal. All of a sudden, we get rain. Is it possible to cover the schach with plastic?
Yes, that's the last thing I was talking about. We'll get back to it. It'll keep you to the end.
I'm sorry.
You're leaving? No, the answer is yes.
No, I just have to use the guy.
Okay. Okay. Now, one of the most practical halachas for today, which everybody runs into, is what happens if your sukkah is under a tree. It's a very practical problem. I don't know what the houses are here, but in Norfolk, it's where I am, we don't have much space. And there are a lot of people whose sukkahs are very tight up against trees. If the tree goes very tall, it can be difficult to trim. Do you have to call tree service, right, to have your whole tree trimmed down? So it's not so simple. So the basic rule is like this. You don't want to put your sukkah underneath the tree, even if the tree doesn't have that much shade. At the end of the day, it's pasol schach. And we, the Chachila, try to keep it, if you have no choice, ask your Rav. But, right, he'll answer your questions, and there are ways to get around it. But, if you're under a tree, even if there's even if the tree doesn't provide so much shade, you could still have problems with Chachila. So we try not to have it underneath the tree. What situation could you have where you could have a tree? Is as follows. Over here. Look at this case. What do I have in this case? I have in this case 2 things. I have pasol schach and I have kosher schach. Now, the picture doesn't show up very good on the projector, but let's go back. Take a look over here.
You wanted to dim the light?
Yeah, I think we need to dim the light.
I need to dim the lights?
You can't see it.
It's fine. See if it helps. Okay, much better. As you can see over here, we have a bush. We have a bush growing, and we have the bush growing up over. We also broke off branches off a tree, and we mixed it together. So the halacha is that if you mix it together, and you have majority, you have rov kosher schach, and then it's okay. But only because it's not nicker, you don't recognize it, you don't see the pasol schach. If you have, when you have a tree above, so it's very clear what's what. Or you can do like this also. Over here, we have our tree that's attached, and we use bamboo for the rest. Right? I can see what's what. You're not hiding it. I know exactly what's attached, what's not. So in that case, you're going to have problems. I'm pretty sure in this case you're going to have problems. It has to be that I can't find it. So if I have a tree that's up on top, you can find it. The best is to avoid having a tree. Okay? We'll get to overhangs in a minute. Now, if I have this case, and this happens all the time in Queens, people have grapevines and they have gourds, that sort of thing, growing over trellises, can I use that? Actually, if you turn it off for 1 second. 1 second, 1 second.
It's better off.
Over here, just one more picture. One more picture they can see.
נדליק נרות.
Sorry.
I have a grapevine on my sukkah.
Yeah. So over here, next door to the red porch, they have a trellis over here, and underneath they have chairs and tables around the fence, and they have this plant growing up over the whole thing. That's Pasul Schach. It's still attached to the ground. If I wanted to use that, I would have to cut it off. But again, that's not enough, because that Schach was Pasul. I would have to pick up each part of it and put it back down again. But you don't have to rip off the whole thing. You just go underneath and you push. You push off and you let it down. It's not that big a deal.
No, but the grapes just go around the whole wire thing that I have, you know what I mean?
Right, you don't want to do the grapes. What do you want to kill your grapevine for? So good, so it's not relevant anyway. The only place you might want to do this if you have gourds, because the gourds you can have to replant every year anyways. Okay? But, fine, so we can have the lights. Thank you.
נאור, תגיד לרב את הדוגמה שהוא הביא, שיש לו ענבים בתוך הסוכה והוא עושה מזה סכך.
So can you use the grapes
I
anyways?
use the
It's
whole
possible.
time I have the grapes, they climb over like the
Right, so it's a problem. They're still attached, it's a problem.
Rabbi, it's not problem, it's possible.
It's possible, yeah. Possible. Make a difference. Start again. Okay.
אל תעשו לו עין בבקשה, חבר'ה.
Fine. So let's say I have it growing over like this, right? Or so again, I said we'd have to cut it off. Okay. Now, just one more thing about schach before we get to construction materials. I was down in Miami, staying at a friend's house. He had rented a house from someone, and he was away for the Chag. I stayed in his house. In the back there was a sukkah, and it had palm branches on top. It was there all year round. Can I use it? Right? So since it was made for shade, yes, it's fine. But the chachila, what you should do, if you're going to have a sukkah, you can build it any time of the year, but the chachila, you should say you're making it for the chag. Right? Okay, if you're putting something to dry, again you'd have to pick up everything and restart again. So, as long as it's made for the shade. Okay. Let's talk about construction materials using 2x4s. So, I was very happy to find this. I found this log across the street from Torres Chaim, and I got my chainsaw, and I cut this out, and it makes a beautiful piece of stock, and there you go. No ring, no nothing, right? Nice and solid, right? Is it a kli? It's definitely not a kli. It's just a piece of tree, right? So there's nothing wrong with it. What's the problem? What does it look like? The stars, you don't need to see. It's a nice thing that you should be able to have the stars. Like I feel that you have the stars. If you can't see the stars, it doesn't make it possible. You have to have the rain come in. But even if you don't have the rain come in, it's not so simple that it would be possible. It's worse if the rain doesn't make it in. But let's say you have a bunch of boards and rain can't get in. What's the problem? What does this look like? A house. There's a house. This is how they built their houses in the old days. Getting trunks this wide was not a big deal. They didn't have plywood.
No.
This is how they built their houses.
זה לא קריטי. ממש זה לא קריטי.
No,
but the star doesn't, it's not, the star is not. But he said that's not the main fact.
אם לא רואים את הכוכבים, אז סם ארעי, זה כמו ארעי כאילו. זה סם קבע, זה לא כמו ארעי. נאור, תסביר לו שאם לא רואים את הכוכבים, זה כמו...
Is that temporary?
He said it.
You can't see the stars?
If you cannot see the stars, it
It
means
depends. Listen, if you use branches with leaves, it's possible you may not see the stars. It's still it's not kept up. In branches with leaves are going to fall off. It depends. Shulchan says that with the you should be able to see the stars. If you don't see the stars, it's not possible. If the rain doesn't make it in, you made it so thick, then we're running into bigger problems. That's a lot closer to being Diras Keva. If you're using straw, very often they would use straw, but it make it like a thatched roof, and to the point where the rain doesn't come in. So even it's not so simple.
If I'm taking like 2x4.
We're getting to it in 2 seconds. Okay, so the Rabban goes there not to use these. If you go to the Mishnah, you take a look at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that if the board is more than 4 tvachim wide, so then it's possible. This board is 5 tvachim wide. Okay? So it's definitely possible to use for stach. If it's from 3 to 4 tvachim, it's machloket. And if it's less than 3, everybody agrees it's okay. That's from the Mishnah.
So you actually can use strips of 3.
No, so this one, I use these. These also just came out of a tree, came down in a hurricane in Queens, right? How wide is it? It's 1.5. Okay, should be fine. No? Should be fine. Okay. The problem is, at the end of the day, if I want to use 2x4s or 2x6s, so nowadays people do use that for roofing material. Now I wouldn't use a 2x4 for a roof, but I would use it for a deck. I would use it for a floor. And a friend of mine he come out of his dining room, he's got a deck. His bedroom's right above, and there's also a deck right above. You look up, what are you looking at? You're looking at 2x4s. People do use 2x4s or 2x6s for construction material. And the problem is that people are going to go into such a sukkah and say, why did I bother going through all the trouble? I mean, went through all this trouble to build a sukkah, and I could have just stayed in my house and have the exact same thing.
Rabbi, how many?
That's it.
Tefach, how many inches?
This is 3.79. I marked off on here.
What is it?
3.79.
3.79 inches?
That's what I have on here.
Centimeters, is that 8?
It was 28.8.
28?
No, 28.8 is an amma.
Yeah.
28.8 is an amma.
That's 8.
28. That makes sense.
3.75 כפול תעשה 25
I'm getting confused. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. It's 6.
3.75
3.79 I have.
3.79? 3.79
No, that's not. 28.8 is not. No, that's 3 tvachim. 28.8 is 3 tvachim.
66 סנטימטר.
No. 28.8 I think is 3 tvachim. I'm confused. Whatever, forget about it. Whatever it is. We get the measurements later.
We know it says Tfachim is like equal almost to 80 centimeters.
We say about 40 inches is 10 tvachim. I'm saying. About 40
Okay, that was
inches.
it.
You're safe if you have 40 inches.
4 inches.
That was
40 inches. You should be safe.
4 inches?
40.
40.
Yeah.
Should be safe.
40
40 inches.
25.
If you have 40 inches, you should be safe for the 10 tvachim.
סנטימטר.
Oh, man.
Yeah? Okay.
40 inches.
Okay, so it comes out at this point.
אינץ' זה 25.4 סנטימטר. מילימטר.
Okay, so it comes out at this point that we say not to use construction materials, even though a 2x4 is not a kli, right? It's just a chunk of wood, right? At the end of the day, it looks like a house. It looks like you're making a house, and people are going to say, what's the difference? Why should I bother making a sukkah? I'm just going to sit in my house. Okay. The Mishnah does say if you have a board that's too wide like this and it's on the end of the sukkah, it's kosher.
But you're allowed to
But you're not allowed to sit under it. So what's pshat? Pshat is what we call dofen akuma. What? Dofen akuma. A wall that's bent over.
דופן עקומה.
I can treat this board not as part of the ceiling, but not part of the roof, but as part of the wall, bent over. Let's say my wall was bent over like this. So it's not a wall. It happens to bend. Let's say it's part of an arc. So it's technically walls, so you can't sit under it. It's not a place to schach. But it's a fine wall. How far can I go? Arba amos. You can go 4 amos.
And
Okay,
you have
quite
4
a bit.
hours space and then 4 hours.
What?
Can you do
You
4
can, so what happens, now let's go to this case. If we have the lights again, please.
You leave it off.
Jacob,
Just what you can see.
תדליק את האור.
Okay, so anybody knows Rabbi, this is Rabbi Arpaz's house. Over here, we have this wall in the back with the doors. And then he's got a wall on the side, and he's got a fence over here. So can we use the doors for a third wall? Be a great idea. The problem is we have this overhang. So how deep is that overhang? If that overhang is less than 4 amos, now I don't know how far 4 amos is, because there's a opinion in the Gemara that says it's 5 tvachim, not 6, is an amma. And then it's not brought down to Shulchan Aruch. I totally have no clue how long it is. But Pastor Kaplan knows it. But if that works, I could go through my sukkah in like this, right? I'm gonna make, if this is less than 4 amos, I could build my sukkah right up against it. I consider this
Is the bend wall.
as the wall.
The bend wall.
It's bent wall. It's a bent wall. That's all it is. Okay?
You were saying something about the 2x4s not to use on the
Yeah, we're saying not to use the 2x4s.
need to support.
No.
the
Support
schach.
is fine. You're allowed to use building materials for support. There's a case brought down in the Mishnah that I take the roof off and I throw schach on top. That's perfectly fine. Even though I have the support beams that were part of the house, I can use that. As long as from the hole where the schach is, I have to each wall less than 4 amos. Okay? I can make a hole in the ceiling. There was a case, Shammai Zakein, so he held that children need to eat in a sukkah too, or to stay in a sukkah.
For babies.
Even for a little baby. His daughter had a child, she had a little boy, and then he took the roof off of her room and put schach on. So it says, right, so as long as the hole in the ceiling is within, and the schach goes up to within 4 amos of each of the walls, or at least 3 of the walls, that's fine. Okay, that's considered fine sukkah. You have to sit under the schach, right? You can't sit underneath the ceiling over here, but I can use this as a wall. In this case, it wasn't any good. Why? Because if you take a look up, standing at that same point, you'll see that the wall comes up more. You have this whole overhang, and by the time you're done with all the overhangs, right, it's coming out quite a bit. This is very practical, though, if you have a porch, and you want to build on your porch, and you have an overhang coming out from the house. So it's not a problem. I can consider that overhang part of the wall. I can use the wall of the house. Well,
As long
they
as
can't
the
sit under it.
overhang, it's not more than
4 amos, which is it's a pretty wide space. Right? You have,
You can always ask the architect to redo the house, no? Push it in.
you can also build your sukkah different too.
What do you mean it's not quite? 4 amos, from what did you see, it's like maybe, what?
I mean, over here, this is only one. This is
Say
one
one
amos.
amo.
That's amos?
This is 11
So what
tvachim.
is
Over
those-
here is about 2 amos.
So what is, oh, it's tfachim, okay.
Yeah, this is only tvachim. So the amos, you got a little more than double this.
Okay.
Right? Maybe a little bit less.
Amma is this, no?
Again, we can't use our arms. We can't really use our arms. 22.75 inches is the chazanish. Right? So you can't.
זה צריך להיות רחוק מהבית.
You can't really use it. But it's something like that. But it's.
2 אמות מהבית צריך להיות.
The point is that you can have an overhang coming out the side of the house, and you can still use the wall of the house. You're not necessarily going to have a puzzle sukkah. You have to measure it. Okay.
כן, כן. כי הקיר
Fine.
מתחיל
That's
פה
what it is.
להסתכל.
Okay. So let's talk.
2 אמות, נכון?
Okay, let's talk about decorations. I forget. I forgot to bring the sheet. I have a very nice tablecloth. It's very decorative, and we killed it a little bit, so my wife doesn't mind if I use it. And then what I do is I take the tablecloth, and before I put my schach on, so I would do the following. I would put the tablecloth over the top, like this, with a pretty side down, so I can see inside. I have a nice decoration. Then put my schach on top of it. Can't find anybody who says it's wrong. Shulchan Aruch says it's perfectly fine. If you're doing it for decorative purposes, you can put a sheet across the entire thing for decorative purposes. I bet you will never find anybody do it. No one, you're not going to find anybody who says to do it.
I never saw nobody done it.
At Eretz Yisrael, you see sheets on the walls all over the place. They put
Yeah.
carpets in, they bring in the couches and the beds, everything,
Nothing
right?
like that.
But nothing, no, you'll never see anybody put a sheet on the top. If you put it on for decorative purposes, you may.
see the schach.
Well, you don't have to see this one.
I want to
It's bottle the schach.
יעקב, כמה
You want to see it? It's a good see. Won't
All
you?
these-
But does it block
bottled
the sun
design.
all the way?
If
Three
it's-
much Temesel.
It doesn't matter.
So
It
now.
doesn't matter. You have kosher schach, and then I have underneath is something that's bottled the schach.
Yes, but what is the purpose? Like.
That's
No,
still
that's a big
I
question.
feel I wouldn't sit under this
I know.
with,
It doesn't feel right, but at the end of the day, it's okay.
over it.
If it's for decorative purposes, if I'm doing it to block the sun, I don't feel that my schach is blocking the sun well enough, or I have leaves falling into my soup. I want to catch the leaves, so then I get into problems. There are different shitas. Some opinions say this, some opinions say that. You can run into a lot of problems if you put it there because you want to protect the schach, you want to protect yourself.
But he's going to do that job anyway.
What?
He's going to
No, it
protect them.
depends. So you have to ask what your reason is. If you put it up there, you say, the leaves are falling into my soup. Right? I want to
אם
go
אתה
put a sheet up to
מכוון-
protect it.
אם אתה מכוון שזה לקישוט,
What if it's more than
אז זה בסדר.
What?
אבל אם אתה מכוון בשביל שזה
More than
יתפוס
one.
תענית,
We
זה לא
have to
בסדר.
have in mind that this is for decades.
I don't know.
Also,
I hear you. I don't know.
לא משנה.
I don't know.
הכוונה ששמת אותו
רבי, you have problem, יש בעיה לעשות קישוטים של כריסמס או...
Oh, yeah, so I'm getting there right now. No, they come for Christmas, I don't care.
לא, רק תגיד להם.
No, but I say I put a lot of them.
אני לא שואל
My
בשביל...
brother in Queens, you go to his sukkah, the whole thing is packed with decorations. You can barely see the schach. The mamish can barely see the schach. If the schach is within 4 tefachim, it's kosher. You don't. It's all bottled to the schach. It's just secondary. It's part of the sukkah. It's there to decorate the sukkah. It's part of the sukkah. It's not there to be schach. It's not puzzle schach. It's part of the sukkah, and it's fine. And you can sit under them.
But they told me that if it's like drop.
If it drops, oh, so the question is, let's say it starts within 4 tefachim and goes below 4 tefachim. So there's a machlokes from later date poskim.
But if you put a sheet on top, okay, like you put a cloud, nice cloud,
Yeah,
and it's thick enough, you don't see any light coming through, and because it's
I
decoration.
understand.
But so what is the difference between this one that doesn't come, the light doesn't come in, that I'm going to put a piece of plywood and I'm going to put some
No.
decoration on it?
No, the paint is a decoration, not the plywood.
The what?
Then the paint is a decoration. No, if I'm putting a piece of plywood,
I put
if
a piece of
I
plywood.
have a
and
decorative piece of plywood
לא,
and I put it
אז
up,
צריך
the
גם
fire would
להקפיד
be the
על
same.
פלורוסנטים, פחות...
Same thing?
But you have to know why you're putting it there. You have to know why you're putting it there. And in that case, if it's a piece of plywood, then it's going to look like your house.
בארבע טפחים אצלו זה כזה
But I can
דבר.
put flowers, decoration, and
You can
everything.
put
Tefachim,
decorations,
זה מגיע
all the
לראש.
decorations you want. But they have to be close to the top. They have to be within 4 tefachim.
Yeah.
Now the plywood would be a problem because even though you paint it, still looks like a painted ceiling of a house. So it probably would be a problem.
How about
flowers
putting
and-
decoration on the walls?
Decoration on the wall is fine, even on the ceiling. We're saying you can put on the schach as long as it's within 4 tefachim. Question is, what happens if it goes below 4 tefachim? If it starts within 4 and goes below 4,
Can you show on your measure?
how far that would be?
Yeah.
So this is 4 tefachim, right?
Yeah. When you say when you attach to the 2x4s, when it's like
Yeah, come on.
לא הבנתי, מה זה למעלה? אם אתה שם למטה?
And it's pretty easy to keep it all within this.
יותר נמוך מארבע טפחים. הקישוט.
And listen, if you have a big hanging thing, so let it hang. Don't
Ah,
sit
שיהיה-
underneath it.
שיהיה
You
לא
put it over the table. You're gonna walk
פחות
into it
מארבע
anyway.
טפחים, שלא יהיה יותר.
No,
שלא יהיה...
Right.
לא תצא משהו שיורד מטר.
שלא יהיה
Like using those
מציאות
chains,
Yeah, the
שמבטלת
chains
את
are,
הסקאפ.
most of the chains, it's not that big a deal to keep the chain within 4 tefachim.
אם אתה שם חוטים, לא פחות מארבע אמות.
קישוטים, לא חוטים.
קישוטים,
Hanging on the wall, some
פחות מחמש
decoration.
ארבע אמות.
It doesn't matter
טפחים.
how far.
On the wall? No.
טפחים, לא אמור.
לא.
פה זה כל אחד חצי מטר.
No, on the wall is fine. You can decorate the wall however you want.
צורך בהם.
Yeah, the walls are fine. You should decorate them as much as possible. So the machlokas of later day poskim, and what do they say? So most of the what's the misnagdim? What's the misnagdim poskim basically say that it's not okay. You should try to keep the decorations within 4 tefachim, but the Hasidic poskim seem to say it's below. Below, as long as it starts within 4, you can go below. What do you get out of this? The bells are whatchamacallit, chandeliers. Right? This puzzle for schach, pretty cool though. Right? If you see over here, you got the air conditioning vents coming out of here, you got all the lights.
This is
right?
sukkah?
Yeah, this is a huge sukkah. Mama's huge. You can't even see the bottom. Nowhere near the bottom. Right? It's
What
probably
is
too
it?
tall.
4 amma by 4 amma?
No, it is. They have thousands of people in here. What do they got in here? They got esrogim, they got wine bottles, they got apples and limonim and pineapples. It's pretty far up. It's very cool.
Where is this?
This is bells.
ירושלים.
You slide. Yeah. Pretty cool. I think I zoomed in a little so you can see better. They got the regular chandeliers there. Yeah, you can actually you can see a little better. You can see the wine bottles. They have real chandeliers. You know, they got
מה זה דייט?
they go all out.
It doesn't
That's it. It's just every one goes to 4 tefachim.
If this doesn't look like house, what looks
And
like
this is
house?
like kosher sukkah?
No, yeah, it is. They took the roof off and put the schach up. You can see the mats.
This is מזגן, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
לקחת את הגג של הבית.
You can see the mats here. They put mats on. They took the
How
roof off. I
come
don't know
those
this.
decoration, they're more than,
They hold it's okay as long as it starts within 4.
as long that what?
The Chassidim hold that as long as it's within 4, it's okay. As far as I understand, that's the most I was able to find.
4 tefachim.
They can go further down as long as it's
Build like this, I might as well have it in
נכנסים שם 7,000 אנשים.
מה שנוח לזה, נוח לזה, אתה יודע, זה...
זה לא קשור, מה הקשר? מה שנוח לזה?
לא, אבל הוא אומר שאסור שיהיה יותר מארבע,
נו, אז איך הוא...
טפחים.
אז תשאל אותו, מה?
We should try to
הוא
make
אומר
it
שבינתיים זה טוב.
entire
אז
thing.
תשאל אותו.
זה די טוב.
Why are you not going to sit in there? Make
שאל
sure
אותו.
it's at the table.
אני אשאל, מה
נו, אז תשאל, למה אתם לא שואלים?
That's as far as I
כן,
can
גם
tell.
שמו גזר, שמה גזר תלוי.
So you said said that you're not allowed that the decoration would be
כמו שאנחנו באמצע יוצא קרח.
הנה למעלה חצילי.
and now this is like
No, I'm just saying, they hold it's okay as long as you start at the top.
But it's more than 4. But it's more than 4 טפחים.
I don't know. I'm presenting different opinions. I'm just presenting.
אתה רואה, זה מה שאומר?
The rabbi decided for you. I
לא,
don't know. I'm just
הרב
presenting two
אומר
opinions.
שאם זה דבוק ויורד, אז זה
This is
בסדר.
more than 4 טפחים. It's okay.
Absolutely, it's huge.
So what you say, it shouldn't be more than 4
No, but if
Depends.
it's starting,
You're
the
starting near close to the
decoration
top.
starting less than 4 tefachim,
You start
it
close
can
to the
go
top.
down like.
As long that you're not sitting underneath of it.
If it's if it מתחיל מה?
If it's starting less than
אם
4
זה
Mina
מתחיל
schach,
from the
it's
schach.
not, right? If it starts within 4, so then you're okay. So this, I guess, officially starts. I don't even know if it starts with 4. I don't. There's no one sitting under there, anyways. Right? There's no one sitting there. They're all the bleachers on the sides.
And what about the electricity, all the chandeliers?
Yeah,
and
it's
this is what? This is
What happens to
decoration?
rain decoration? What?
זה אלי וענווהו, זה קישוטים לסוכות.
Yeah, it's fancy. Come on, it's not a decoration.
It's decoration, but it's more than 4 trachim.
Yeah, so I
I
don't
can
know. No one's
see
sitting
here.
there. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not making this.
When you say nobody's
I'm
sitting
just
there, what do you
presenting
mean?
the different ideas.
But Rabbi, when you say nobody's sitting there, what do you mean nobody's sitting there?
They're all the bleachers on the sides.
Oh, so basically you cannot sit under it?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, basically.
אולי הם שמו את הקישוטים והמנורות איפה שהשולחנות, ככה שאנשים לא יושבים...
כן.
לא,
Yeah,
לא, גם אתה לא חושבת מתחת לשתי דיאט קוק, תיפול עליך, יעשה לך פצע.
I don't know. I have other questions on this. The other question I have in this one is that the maximum height of a sukkah, maximum height of a sukkah is 20 amot. Okay? Now this, I don't know. It's getting close.
More than 20.
Okay? There are different opinions about why. One of the opinions is in order that you should come in and see the schach, that you should recognize and see the schach. If it's more than 20 amos high, you're not going to really notice. It's a
So
little
how
bit less
are
than
you
40
going to
feet.
recognize the schach who is the close?
What? No. Okay, it's a good question. But
thank
it's
you.
bottled to it. Okay, but it has to be that low. Now, the Gemara explains that's only if we're dealing with a situation where there was a big space. I have a wall and then I have a space and the schach up high. If the wall is solid, like these walls, then your eye's going to follow the wall to the top, and therefore that wouldn't be an issue. Okay, that's that opinion. So according to that opinion, it's not an issue at all. Another
So
opinion,
20 amot, you said it's about approximately 40 feet?
a little bit less, no? It's only like that.
40
Maybe
feet.
not, a little
40
bit more.
feet, you're talking about maybe 3-story.
Yeah, you're not making anything like that, but this might be.
Puzzle,
absolutely.
יוסי, בבתים
It's also
של
bringing back
חרדים
the
אין טלוויזיות בבית, אתה רוצה שישימו בסוכה?
לא, מה, טלוויזיה, תמונה אחת שלא זזה.
There's another explanation that that you're going to be sitting in the shade of the walls. If you sit in a very tall sukkah, you're sitting in the shade of the walls. So but it says that's only if it's 4 amos by 4 amos sukkah. So it has been out. If you have 4 amos wide by 20 amos high, so what's the angle, right? The sun will never come in. If you remove all the schach, the sun will never make it in. Because the sun doesn't go directly overhead, right? So if you're cheshbon, I have to look it up what the angle of the sun is in Yerushalayim around this time. But I would assume that it's down in the sky enough that even at its highest, it still would never shine into the sukkah. Right? But, so according to that opinion, if you made it wider, it also wouldn't be an issue. Other things. Okay, just getting back to decorations for a second. The decorations are muksa. What does that mean? That means that if I want to eat the fruit, let's say one of the apples falls off, the pineapple falls off the bottom there, I want to eat the pineapple. You can't eat the pineapple the entire sukkah. It's muksa the mitzvah. It's muksa for the mitzvah. Doesn't mean I can't move it. People have told me, oh, you can't move it during
זה מוקצה בשבת.
What?
זה מוקצה...
No, it's different. I'll explain. It's two different types. This is set aside for the mitzvah. I can't use it for anything else. It's like hektish. It's put aside for this. I can put it back up on Chol Moed. On Yom Tov or on Shabbat, I can't even move it because I can't use it. Right? It's not for anything I can use. I can't eat it. Therefore, it has no use that's mutter on Shabbat, and therefore I can't even move it.
So if it
I would have to
falls
let
on
it
the table,
stay on the ground.
If it
What?
falls on the table?
If you what?
If it falls on the table where you're eating, you can't move it?
No, not on Shabbat.
Can you do it in Shinui?
You can move it up. Now, if it's a poster that has, let's say, Kiddush on or something like that, you could pick it up. Because you could use that. Just
But you cannot put it back.
You could use it now.
But you cannot put it back.
Well, you can't attach it. That's another thing. You can't attach it on Yom Tov. Right?
But not on Shabbat.
or on Shabbat. Same
Shabbat.
thing. Same thing. Yom Tov and Shabbat are the same rules for
יום
this.
טוב גם יום טוב.
אותו דבר, יום טוב גם שבת.
rules are
יום טוב
exactly the
מותר
same.
לשבת.
אמרתי לך, אתה אומר לי
The
לא.
rules are the same. I can't attach it, so I can't tie it back up.
Why you cannot touch it? Because it's melacha?
Because it's your building, binyan.
It's
Yeah.
considered as a melacha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you can't attach it. And
No.
since you can't do anything with it, therefore you have to leave it, if it's a fruit or something like that. During Chol Hamoed, go ahead, put it back up.
And you cannot
Okay, but
eat
you can't eat it.
And you cannot eat it.
You can't eat it though.
I
So
told
if
you,
you decorate with
Jacob.
fruits, right, so that you cannot use. It's like,
Jacob,
But you can eat
I
it
told
in
you.
Chol Hamoed.
I told you, you
no,
cannot eat
you can't
it.
eat on Chol Hamoed.
Why?
Because I put it aside to be a
אבל אתה את כל
decoration.
מה
It's
אתה
set
שם
aside
בוא
for the
תשתה.
mitzvah.
You
Dec-
can eat it.
בוא נגיד כל
Decoration
המשתתף,
is
בוא
a
נגיד
mitzvah. It's set aside for the mitzvah, the entire Chag.
And after the Chag?
After the Chag, so then I can eat it.
You can
Why
eat.
not?
You have to wait
זה
till
מוקצה למצווסוי.
Muktzah is also, right? But it's a different muktzah than Shabbat. It's not a muktzah that I can't move it. It's a muktzah I can't use it.
So if I don't like
Because I can't use it on Shabbat, also I can't move
So
it.
if
after the
I
Chag.
cannot, if I don't like the
No.
decoration, I want to remove
אתה מת
it.
לשתות,
wait till
אתה
Chol Hamoed.
למעלה, אתה לא יכול לגעת בו.
Oh wait, can you take it down on Chol Hamoed? That's an interesting question. You don't like it, you want to put it away. Can you take it down on Chol Hamoed? I don't know. I don't want to use it for the
אם
mitzvah.
אתה לא אוהב את הדקורציה ב...
לא,
לא,
זה-
זה
לא.
זה מוקצה, מה?
Sorry, you can change it.
It's the same thing like this Diet Coke and I'm thirsty, I
תגיד
can
לו
take it out and
שיגיד,
drink it.
משה,
הרב,
יוסי,
כן,
יוסי,
Yeah, that's what I'm
תגיד לו
talking about.
שיגיד
People are
לא
hating
למה אם לא
fruits.
יפרקו לי את כל הקישוטים
Say no,
מהסוכר.
Rabbi, because they're going to go destroy all the קישוטים.
What do they have there? You have Diet Coke in?
No, Diet Sprite. But I tell
Diet Sprite,
you, I tell you what, here in the synagogue, it's all tequila and vodka and
Yeah,
Arab.
okay. Okay. So the last thing is a shlach. At least in Yiddish, we know it's a shlach. A rain cover.
A rain
A
cover.
rain
הנה,
cover. Okay.
השאלה
So the
שלך
Mishnah
לגבי
Berurah
הרעin cover.
says it is actually it's better to make a rain cover. I was building mine today. Right? Why? Okay. So during the week, I don't have a mitzvah I have to eat in the sukkah. If I want to eat, I have to eat in the sukkah. If I don't want to eat, I don't have to eat. On the first night, I have to eat in the sukkah. And there are some opinions who say that even if it's pouring, I have to eat in the sukkah. We learned up from Pesach that it is a mitzvah to eat in the sukkah. It doesn't matter if you're a star. It doesn't matter if it's like your house. Even if it's pouring, you still have to eat in the sukkah. So that creates a lot of problems because some people say you're not Yotze if you eat while it's raining. So we'll stay up very late until midnight to wait until to see if the rain stops.
And if it's not,
What? So if it doesn't stop, so then even a minute, then you have to go out and eat.
you can eat with
With the rain.
With
the rain. You
umbrella.
go eat it because
With umbrella.
What?
With umbrella. You hold
No
umbrella.
umbrella. No, nice try.
Oh no, we can make hole in the umbrella for the sun.
Not happening. So.
שבות
at the end of the
יעקב,
day- What?
שבות יעקב דן לגבי כובע, שאדם יושב עם
They make a
כובע,
big ring.
עם קפלוש ביג, ואז
Yeah, okay,
הגשם...
with a nice waterproof one. Okay, so you can do that.
Alright.
But they say it's a mitzvah to make a rain cover. You know, as a shlach. Why? So that let's say it stops raining. So now I can take it off. My sukkah will be dry. I can go outside and I can eat. If I don't make a rain cover, the skach's going to get all wet. It's going to be dripping for hours. Everything out there is soaking wet. And then even though the sun is out, outside the sukkah it's nice and dry already, inside the sukkah it's all wet.
Wait, what are you using?
So I went to Harbor Freight and I bought a tarp. I got a tarp this big. Everybody has their own ways of covering it up. I have a way of rolling it out. I don't know. I hear of Heinemann in Baltimore.
תקשיב,
I
נאור.
heard of Heinemann in Baltimore has a way of making it so that
present.
the rain hits it and automatically makes it tilt down. He has his whole
לא,
automatic
אבל,
system.
listen,
cool.
אפילו,
מה
even
כחול
if you
הזה?
sit
זה
in the
טוב.
sukkah
בכחול
and you have rain,
אנחנו קוראים לזה
Yeah.
it's
פלסטיק.
okay. מקסימום,
מה זה
you
כל
get
זה?
ammonia, it's okay.
אתה יכול
No!
לשים ניילון.
You're not using the mitzvah if it's raining. There's no point.
So if it's raining, you don't sit in
No,
the
but the point is that if you put a cover on, then when it stops raining, you can take it off. You have a sukkah ready to go.
But you cannot use it when it's
It's
raining.
Listen a second. Can what about putting the cover on and off?
יש מתחיל לטפטף
Yeah?
קשר?
It's okay.
On Yom Tov, can I put on the cover?
כן.
Yes.
שנייה.
The answer is like this. Yes, on Yom Tov and Shabbat, I can put on the cover. Assuming that it's
And take it
attached.
off.
Very important. It has to be attached to one side. I can't detach that side. I can, as long as it's attached on one side, I can wrap it up over it.
So
That's
it's,
fine.
it's basically attaching one side and you can roll it to the other
Right, I
side.
can roll it up to the other side, or if it's a big board, I can fold it
Hello?
over. I can take it off, I can put it on, as long as it stays attached. It's the same thing as a baby stroller.
If it's
You
raining,
got the whole thing.
Yeah.
and you cover the sukkah with the cover,
Yeah, there's no point eating inside.
because the sukkah is not kosher.
It's not kosher with it under there. Right. So if I put the cover on, I have to remember to take it off, because if you eat in the sukkah with the cover on there, So they're not Yotzei. I've heard stories of people when they put the cover on, they forgot to take it off, and they weren't Yotzei.
So you actually cannot eat in the sukkah with the cover on?
No, you cannot. If you have a tarp on top, you cannot eat it with it.
Yeah, we're talking about like in the middle of Yom Tov, let's say.
Yeah.
And you're eating your half meal, right? You have to your first
You're
meal.
in the middle of the meal.
In the middle of the meal, you still like start dropping. Start to have drops, right? You can cover, right? You can keep eating.
You can eat outside if you want, but you're not using the
Yeah,
pizza.
no, I understand.
No, you already
You start with your tin.
You're already outside. So you can either continue outside and not slap everything in, or you can, yeah, the lights.
But it's raining.
Done?
No, I want to put the lights.
But it's raining.
It's raining?
So you started to, he said you started to eat.
What's the purpose
started
of
to
putting
eat.
the plastic
What are you going to
on?
get everyone now inside the house?
Okay, so good. So then you have the rain cover, you don't have to stop. Okay, but the
But
the
you
inner part
already-
of the rain cover is so you can take it off in order to
You
stop
already
the
yצאת
Rabbi,
ברחובה because you
if
started
it's
to eat.
Rabbi, if it's
זה only
raining,
ברכת המזון, חסר לך רק ברכת
Rabbi,
המזון.
if it's raining,
Yeah.
you can put a cover and continue eating.
If it's attached, it has to be attached to
I
one
touch
side.
you one side.
Good, so then you roll it right up.
Just
No
roll it
problem. You roll it over the stop.
Ah, זה בסדר, אין
But
בעיה.
you can eat in the sukkah.
You can eat in there, you don't have to eat in there. The point is, the whole point of the cover is just to make it that the sukkah stays dry.
I'm talking about, let's say, you know what, we went to the sukkah, started to do the kiddush and everything, all of a sudden a pouring rain comes.
Good, you can put the cover on, but there's no reason, you can go inside and eat too, whatever you want.
יוסי,
So you
מה קורה
can
עם
roll the
You can roll the cover out, it keeps it all dry. You want to eat inside, you can eat inside. You want to eat outside, you eat
אתה צריך
outside.
לעשות ישר את
It's all the same.
So you actually can use the sukkah for eating dinner with the plastic on.
Yes, כן.
Okay, only when it's pouring.
Not because a lot of times.
Only when it's pouring though. Okay, any other questions?
I mean, otherwise we don't have no purpose for that.
No, the point is that you have a kosher sukkah when it stops raining. The point is I want to have a nice dry sukkah when it stops raining.
Sure, yeah, okay.
Questions around that?
Now about sleeping, can give it, let's say you're sleeping right now,
Yeah.
and Salah have some job. Can you just leave this cover before you're going to sleep, or is now you're set?
No, I mean, no, you won't be able to sleep. If you put the cover on, it's not a sukkah.
That's it.
It's a puzzle sukkah with the cover on.
So
There's no
the-
point. Right? You might as well go inside and not
The
freeze.
cover for the rain?
Yeah, if you put the cover for the rain on.
No, but if it's rain, then you cover.
יוסי, לא.
Yeah,
If it's rain, you cover,
Right.
and you can sit in the sukkah and continue eating.
if you want, you
But
can eat
there's
inside the
no,
sukkah.
but it's
It's
not
not
part of
considered a
the-
sukkah
It's
when
not
you put
using
the...
no mitzvah. There's no mitzvah in the sukkah when
אני
it's
הולך לרב, אני הולך
Snow is a
לרב.
different issue. Where I'm from, Rochester, it snows. It snowed into my Kiddush cup and sukkah.
כיסוי זה רק בשביל שהסוכה לא תהיה רטובה, זהו.
So
Right?
actually,
Some-
Snow's not a reason to go in. It doesn't ruin your meal.
No,
yeah, but
no.
actually, so it's not kosher when
Sleeping.
you're eating
Rabbi,
with plastic
sleeping
on.
in
בקיצור,
אין
מתי
סוכה,
תרשום, אתה שם
זה
את הסוכה,
חובה
אתה
או...
רושם בסוכה.
So yeah, so sleeping, you're supposed to sleep outside in the sukkah. You really are.
Not in the sukkah?
Yeah, you should sleep in
supposed
the
to
sukkah.
sleep outside in the
I'm
sukkah.
upset. I have a porch on the side of my bedroom. It's like just it's about this wide. No, the problem is it's not. It's maybe just wide enough, but I have a big overhang coming off it.
It's
Otherwise, I have my own sleeping
It's
sukkah.
mitzvah to sleep in the
It's
sukkah.
absolute mitzvah to sleep in the sukkah.
You know, I told you.
You aim to do. You're supposed to eat, sleep, be metal. You're supposed to stay out there. You're supposed to hang up.
I don't even go to work. I stay in the sukkah for 7 days.
If you want to do that, that's fine. You don't say mitzvah the whole time. You can go
לא,
to work if
איפה
you
אתה
really
עושה
want.
bathroom?
Right? You can bring the sukkah with you.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
so you're allowed to go.
יש לי חור בזה, אני...
But yeah, you're supposed to sleep in the sukkah. You really are. There are some Eterim, maybe for your relative.
I sleep in the sukkah.
No, but there's a mitzvah to sleep in the sukkah. I go outside with my kids. All my kids come outside, they like it, they have a great time.
We sleep the whole 7 days
Yeah.
outside.
So in Rochester, I had these really heavy sleeping bags. Went for 0 degree weather.
אני, הילדים שלי כולם.
If your afraid it's too cold,
יורד גשם.
if you're afraid it's too cold, so one of my Rebbe's father, he grew up in
יורד
Europe,
גשם, אני נכנסה
said, you know
בסניף.
how it's cold in the morning?
That's secret.
When you go to wash Negelwasser, if your water's frozen, then you know it's cold.
Yes.
Okay, you're not running it there.
With fire?
What? Can you build a fire? So absolutely, but you should be careful not to burn it down. Oh, so candles. That's another interesting question. So essentially, candles, or if you have a chandelier made with candles, which we don't so much anymore, says even though decorations you want to keep high, that's a mitzvah to the Lord. So you don't burn the scotch. You don't want to start a fire.
שומר, יש הבטחה, שומר מצווה, sleeping in סוכה, שומר מצווה לא ידע דבר רע.
Yeah, you need a...
Yeah, but until the first bug is gonna come and crawl on
If you know the
you.
bugs are bothering
נאור
you,
יספר לך כל שנה יש לו ניסים, שום יתוש לא עוקץ אותם בסוכה.
get mosquito netting.
We have no one mosquito that
You can
comes.
put mosquito netting all
You have a spray. Burn a stick down, get a couple of mosquitoes.
אפילו
Just one on
אפילו היתושים לא עוקצים אותו, אתה מבין מה זה?
What about the wasps?
יודעים להקצות ימותו.
So you can't set out a trap. You can't trap a wasp. Let's say you have a couple, you trap a wasp really quickly. You can't trap a wasp on Yom Tov.
We bought a bug fryer.
Okay, so good. You put it up before Yom Tov and you're good.
Black Widow.
You can set out a trap before
So you
Yom
can
Tov.
set it up.
You can set up before Yom Tov. You can't do it on Yom Tov. You can do it
So if it
on
was
Yom Tov.
coming to the sukkah, you're not allowed to hit him.
You can't touch the wasp.
כן,
But it's
Black Widow.
כן, ראינו כמה פעמים, יש כמה סוגים.
No, so there are questions. There are questions about on Yom Tov. Shabbos is different, but on Yom Tov, yes, there are questions about on Yom Tov if maybe you could. The best thing though is to avoid the whole issue and to set up a bug trap before it. You got a wasp trap, hang it up, they're normally very effective.
בפנים?
They always say the vinegar works, I never find it works, I don't know. Okay. Anything else?
You can start again, tell us about how.
Should we start again?
But I tell you what, this is only for one person.
For what? Yeah, this is, no. Technically it's made for one person. Once it's a kosher sukkah, you squish two people in there. You squish two people in there.
Where you sleep.
Ah, so I had a guy, so where are you supposed to sleep? How can this be a kosher sukkah?
4x4.
So the size of the sukkah, the way it's described, they tell you in the Gemara they don't even describe it as 7x7. And eventually they do, but it's first described as enough roshuv of rubo v'shalchano. So I can fit inside. If I'm sitting on a cushion, right? I can take a tefach shulchan inside, and it'll fit most of me. So I figured out, and there's a whole big question. If you're sleeping in there, right, is a kosher for sleeping? So if you scrunch up, so then you could keep your legs outside, but most of you will be in there.
Or you can.
Maybe it's not kosher for sleeping.
Maybe you can sleep sitting.
Right, so there's all these questions about this. If you're sleeping sitting, or if you just have your legs out. But yeah, it's a good question, but it's a lot
על
of
כל
trouble.
פונים זה מצווה.
בקיצור זה כמו של סוכה.
It's big מצווה.
Rabbi, that's the.
Do we have other cases here?
No, I'm saying like.
There you go. Rosa Barubo.
How's that?
A little bit of shul.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
You know, we make
He's
a
doing this
joke.
also.
We make a joke of the homeless. They're
Yeah.
kosher. They're sleeping in something like this the whole year.
אבל לא בנו אותו למצווה.
I once tried to move into an apartment complex. They didn't want to let you have a sukkah because they're afraid homeless people are going to move in and sleep there. And what are you talking about? I'll be sleeping there. And he said, and in Stam, it's not an issue. I'll make it so it's entirely clear. I'll just make little strings going all the way around, a whole bunch of strings. No one will be able to go in there without being seen. What's the big... They didn't believe me. We ended up moving in anyway. We went to another place for the last. Okay.
שכח.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Now I'm gonna go build the sukkah.